So let me begin with the work of Dr. Richard Perez, a internationally recognized energy research person who is showing us the relative abundance of known energy sources to humankind. You can see in the right-hand column, we have our finite fossil fuels and uranium. On the left-hand side, we have renewables along with the solar in the middle. And down in the lower left, the little blue marble represents total human energy demand on an annual basis, which is 19 terawatt hours per year for all 8 billion people and the things we need to power on the planet. And you can see that we have plenty of all sorts of energy to meet our demand. On the renewable side, you can see that the wind alone is enough to get us there. And then the sun is the colossal generator of energy and also happens to be the mom of all the other circles. But the takeaway from this slide is that in 1 hour, the sun delivers enough energy to the surface of the earth to power all human energy demand for an entire year. So what about the local resource? On a somewhat miserable spring mud season day here up in Maine, it's not top of mind that our region is at the exact same latitude as famously sunny places like Monaco on the French Riviera. And you can see that I've circled Germany just to illustrate how much further north in terms of latitude Germany is relative to us. And for the last 30 years, Germany has been pursuing what Maine has been kind of now aspiring to for the last couple of years. For 30 years, Germany has been making heavy investments to effect a 100% clean energy transition. They are scared to death of Putin's stranglehold on natural gas supplies to Western Europe, as well as the impact of 8 billion people burning fossil fuels in a closed atmosphere. So what you have is a modern industrialized economy with a heavy manufacturing sector and huge exports, showing us a pathway to 100% renewable energy. And the takeaway here is that on an annual basis, our region of northern New England gets about 30% more sunshine per year than Germany due to their more northerly latitude. One other way we talk about the local solar resource here in northern New England is to understand the fact that a solar array in our region will generate roughly the same amount of clean electricity per year as a solar array in Houston, Texas. And that's for a few reasons. We mentioned the good latitude that we're at here. Also, solar panels are much more efficient at lower temperatures. So in our relatively cool, dry climate, they outperform a solar array in the heat and humidity of a place like Houston. And on an annual basis, we're just about 10% less than most of Florida. So all of that is to say that Maine's solar resource is incredibly viable and similar to what Dr. Dagher said about the viability of our wind resource. So they complement each other very well. So we know the resource is viable. What about the cost of the technology? Dr. Silkman did a great job of illustrating what it's going to cost to get us to 100% renewable energy combined with storage. And here you can see on the left-hand axis that since 1975, the cost of solar technology has absolutely fallen off a cliff. And correspondingly, on the right-hand axis, you can see that global adoption of the technology has skyrocketed. And so I like to posit that we're at one of those proverbial tipping points when a technology reaches the right price point and we have a huge need for something new and something better. Here you look at 1890 New York City. You can see the transportation modality of the day, some horses enjoying the fuel over to the right. Fast forward just 10 years, and you see a radical transformation in transportation technology and fuel switching. And this illustrates the fact that we have a very tight window to get this clean energy transition accomplished. And historically, we've proven that with the right technology and motivation, we can make a rapid transition. So let's talk about what's happening on the ground here in the great state of Maine. Here's a satellite image of a 150-year-old business on the waterfront in Portland Harbor. I've circled one of the more than 50 tanks that comprise this company's operations. And there's something special about that tank. You can see the difference on the top there. And And here's what the Sprague Corporation has done. They are now shouting from the rooftops to the rest of the world that they've deployed the first solar tank in the nation. While the amount of energy being produced on the top of that tank is rather puny, symbolically, I think this is a gigantic message to the world when 150-year-old oil companies are telling us about their solar adoption. In a similar vein, we've got a 50-year-old company like Shaw Brothers Construction. Here's the satellite view of their enormous facility out in Gorham, Maine. In the upper frame, I've circled their giant fleet of diesel dump trucks. And the bottom yellow circle is showing what was formerly their diesel rock crushers. This is a massive civil construction firm, one of the biggest in the state, similar to a Chimbro, but a little bit smaller, that does all kinds of heavy earthwork and road building and projects of that scale. And here's another view of the size of their operation out in Gorham. So I think it's terrifically exciting to know that the Shaw Brothers have now invested in a 3.2 megawatt solar array on one of their parcels of land nearby out in Gorham. We just completed this last year, and for a very traditional fossil fuel intensive business, it's exciting to see that they now have an environmental commitment page on their website talking about how the solar array is going to generate enough electricity to cover all of their power needs. And at the same time, these forward-thinking business people are talking about how they're transitioning their fuel-powered devices to be able to be powered by clean, renewable electricity from wind and solar. There's their diesel-powered generator rock crusher moving to electric, and they are already thinking about how they're going to solve for that massive dump truck fleet that they have. They're exploring electric dump trucks to replace that fleet, and they've already invested in an electric drive loader that saves more than 4,000 gallons of diesel per year. So this is a great example of a company at scale with enormous energy demands every year, thinking about how they're going to move to a 100% renewable energy plus storage future. Similar, but on a smaller scale, we have Maine companies like Grandy Oats. And about 8 years ago, they acquired an abandoned school out in Hiram. After a gut rehab, they installed electric ovens to roast their granola, along with heat pumps for heating and cooling, and electric vehicle charging stations to move their product around. And then they had us install a solar array to meet 100% of their energy demands on an annual basis. So good to see food production businesses adopting renewable energy at scale. And as we think about the intermittency of the wind and solar, as we've alluded to a number of times in these presentations, it's great to see this example. So this is the Wyman Station electricity generation plant out in Yarmouth, Maine. You can see on the left-hand side, there's a beautiful sunny day when this oil peaker plant is dormant because we don't need that energy. In the right-hand image, you can see that the stacks are fully belching smoke. That's because the oil burners are getting fired to meet intense peak demand on a very cold winter day. Well, this particular plant is becoming more and more obsolete. It's 60 years old, and it's very expensive to fire it up with oil. And so what has the utility owner done? They have kind of quietly installed about 16 megawatts of battery storage on the facility. And the purpose of that is twofold. Number one, they want to avoid firing those oil burners as much as they can. And so they rely on the battery storage to hold off firing the oil as long as possible on a peak demand event. But also the battery storage is intentionally designed to compensate for the intermittency of the wind and solar that is rapidly coming here to Maine. So really great to see it at this utility scale. As we think about other aspects of our energy consumption, more than 50% of Maine's worst per capita carbon pollution in New England comes from our transportation needs. And so we were very excited this year to learn that the city of Portland has ordered one of these 100% battery electric Proterra buses. ReVision's going to install the charging station for this bus this year. in the city of Portland. We're doing one also for the city of Saco, and we're doing a couple more for the city of Boston. So a good example of large transportation type vehicles moving towards this clean energy future. And as we think about all the cars and light duty trucks around us, it's nice to know that the early sales of plug-in vehicles across the United States, these are outpacing the early sales of the Prius. And we know the Prius became a ubiquitous vehicle all around us these days, and it won't be long before the same is true with electric cars. We've had manufacturers like Volvo and GM pledging to eliminate the internal combustion engine from their vehicle offerings in the next 10, 20 to 30 years. And here's an example of how many new models at various price points and range options are going to be coming onto the market in very rapid fashion, so that there's something for every kind of driver out there. And as we think about all the charging that we're going to need to electrify transportation, it's great to know that there's apps like PlugShare out there on the marketplace, so that if you have to plan a longer trip outside of your kind of normal local travels, the charging network that's available to us is growing by leaps and bounds. ReVision is installing these by the hundreds every year, as well as other companies throughout the region. One important takeaway, if you're thinking about electric car, is that about 95% or more of your charging happens at the home. But when you need to go further afield, it's good to know that there's going to be the replica of the Irving gas station model, where they're just about on every street corner for us. And as I mentioned, a lot of that charging happens at home. I just want to quickly note that the cost of the clean energy technology has now made it practical for many homeowners to make a transition to 100% renewable energy. You see the solar collectors on the roof, the red heart showing where the ductwork is for the heat pump in this house, the electric car is charging in the driveway, and you've got the battery storage down in the basement to span those days when the sun might not be shining or the wind might not be blowing as it normally does. And just another quick kind of visual of those heat pumps, absolutely crucial to the energy transition in Maine. We have about 400,000 homes today that are heated with oil, and this zero emission technology enables us to use wind and solar power to electrify all of that heating fuel that we currently over rely on, and causes so much pollution for our state. It's also nice to know that we're starting to plan communities for 100% clean energy. This one happens to be in Newburyport, Massachusetts. It's the Hillside Living Facility. You can see the homes that are powered by solar in the upper portion, and then the solar parking canopies down below, where the electric vehicle charging will occur. And here's a more local version of that kind of community-wide transition, where Ocean View at Falmouth is gradually trying to create a zero carbon emission community. And we know that more and more of this is going to be coming throughout the state. And just to think about all of our asphalt parking dead space around the state and around New England, this is a solar parking canopy that we did for the city of Boston last summer. And we look forward to bringing that to more of our dead space here in Maine in the years ahead. As we continue to think about some of the biggest industries in Maine and how we get to zero emissions, it's nice to see that the Scandinavians are going to help us along that path. This is the world's first battery electric commercial fishing boat, launched in Norway in 2015. Last year, we had the first ocean-going solar-powered yacht just on batteries and solar panels alone. This type of boat can cross the ocean. So now for our big boating and yachting businesses, we'll have offerings that can take advantage of Maine's wind and solar resources. And then we see this marine transition happening at larger and larger scale. This is the Maid of the Mist, a tour boat for Niagara Falls. And it's really cool to see the size of the electric conductors to the right there that charge the Maid of the Mist. They're feeding the batteries on the left with clean hydropower from the falls itself. And so you have this beautiful kind of virtuous circle where the hydropower from Niagara Falls is enabling zero emission tourism. for the people who go to visit, which is something that's huge for Maine and our $7 billion tourism industry, and also to think about our large ferry system around the islands. This ferry is called the Future of the Fjords. It's 100% battery electric, and that's in response to the fact that Scandinavia is eliminating the internal combustion engine in the fjord system by 2025. This vessel is charged by an offshore floating platform that delivers a mix of wind, hydro, and solar power to make it fully zero carbon emissions. And hopefully it won't be too long before our friends at IMSKIP, the container ship company that's hitting the East Coast and often coming to Portland Harbor. We look forward to this future electric technology coming to that size of energy consumption scale. And for those of us who have seen the cruise ships rolling into Portland Harbor as well as Bar Harbor, I think it's very inspiring to know that hybrid technology has already made it into the cruise ship industry. This is the Roald Amundsen, built by Norwegian Cruise Lines, enabling this ship to creep into really sensitive ecological areas on battery power alone, thereby reducing overall emissions, but also reducing kind of the potential impacts to our sensitive ecosystems. And after we watched the colossal Ever Given sit sideways in the Suez Canal for about a week, I don't know about you, but I was thinking about how we're going to finally solve the humongous carbon footprint of transoceanic shipping. It's just great to see that technology is already being piloted to bring all those goods across the ocean back and forth from the US to wherever we need to ship stuff and wherever we need to import from. Here's a biogas ship that's scheduled to launch in 2030, along with automated sailing rigs. So we can see pathways to the solving the large energy consumption problems. And then when you think more specifically about our situation here in Maine, we have the 2nd congressional district where snowmobile is equal to automobile in some cases. And it's awesome to see that some students at McGill University up in Montreal have introduced the world's first electric snowmobile. This thing already has 100 miles of range, and they're constantly looking to expand that to create some appeal for the entire industry. And here's one of the prototypes ripping around at a ski area. And again, for those of us who like the winter sports, it's really awesome to see that technology is rising to the occasion and bringing zero carbon, zero emission solutions for us. Getting back to the larger scale situations, I just wanted to quickly show this megawatt solar array that we built for the city of South Portland about 4 years ago. This particular array on their capped landfill is providing 12% of the total annual energy load for the city of South Portland's municipal buildings. This summer, we're going to cover all the rest of the green space there that you see, which is all dead space. We're going to cover that with a bunch more solar and get them closer to 50% of the total municipal load. So here we're demonstrating that the idea of a 100% renewable transition combined with storage at the community level is a feasibility opportunity that we didn't have just 10 years ago. Another area of opportunity is on the larger scale consumption at nonprofits, schools, municipalities. And for those folks, we got to come up with creative financial approaches. Like Dr. Silkman was mentioning, we need a lot of capital investment to pull off this type of clean energy infrastructure. And so ReVision has started a small side company we call ReVision Solar Impact Partners to attract tax equity capital to build solar at zero upfront costs for outfits like the Bristol Consolidated School that you see here. Another organization that's moving quickly down this path is Dartmouth College. We've now installed 25 solar arrays on the campus of Dartmouth and are trying to help them get to their clean energy targets by 2050. We look forward to doing the same with a bunch of Maine institutions. And then we have organizations like Good Shepherd Food Bank being able to adopt clean energy to help defray the costs of delivering 50 million meals a year to hungry Mainers. So we see this transition happening at bigger and bigger scale. And I quickly step back in time here for the first of these nonprofit projects that we did for the Goodwill Hinckley School back in 2010, when Glenn Cummings was the president. And his pledge to use the savings to help provide scholarships to disadvantaged kids is very exciting to ReVision as a certified B Corp, trying to create positive change in the world around us. And so I kind of wanted to buzz through our presentation quickly to allow some times for questions and answers. And so I will stop sharing my screen at this point